used to perform yagyas, the sacrificial fire, the yajna, there the knowledge was always imparted, the wisdom was always imparted and shared by telling stories. That is why we have Hitopadesh, we have Panchatantra. So storytelling is one of the very, or rather most effective medium of conveying a particular point. Now today, fortunately, there is an auspicious day in the sense that you might have heard of Shri Gajanana Maharaj, who likes Sai Baba or these spiritual gurus. He is from Shegaon of Parvani district, and today is his, they call it as Prakat Din. That means he appeared on the earth today. He was a saintly person, he was a spiritual guru, and he was perhaps a godly person. So I offer my pranam to him, and now straight away start the topic: innovative stories for professional development. But it is not innovative. The topic is innovative, but it is mythological stories. Now, mythological stories, friends, basically, I have the very special program under the title Hasya Chintan, where I tell humorous stories for our professional development, or rather human development. But here I have to link it with the profession. So basically, at the outset, I must mention to you that it is mythological stories. And what is a mythology? That I must make clear. Because the dictionary meaning of mythology or a myth is very different. The myth means a story from past times, especially one about gods or men of courage. Remember, men of courage often explain natural or historical events. Like, for example, natural events like the moon disappears on the new moon day or full moon day. Why there is such a diminution of the size in Chandra or the moon? So there's some stories attached to it. Or why on Ganesh Chaturthi day we should not look at the moon. So there are certain beliefs which are explained by the stories, but there is a symbolism in that. Symbolism in the sense that it is a belief that on Ganesh Chaturthi day we should not look at the moon. Why was so? Because actually the story may be different. Story is that probably when Ganesh was moving on his vehicle was a small mouse. Mouse is now used in the computers, but mouse, that means Mushaka Vahana. We call Ganesh as Mushaka Vahana. His vehicle is Mushaka, that is Chuha. Now once he fell down from that and moon laughed at him. So Ganesh was very furious and he gave a curse to him. And he said that on Ganesh Chaturthi day, whosoever looks at the moon, he will be caught for theft or for stealing something. Even if he is innocent, still he will be accused of stealing something or theft. The reason or the logic behind this is that Ganesha, as we know, is the god of intellect. Buddhi ki devata hai wo. And moon is the god of our mind that governs our mind. Now it symbolizes that we should always have a control of our intellect on your mind. And that is why we should not look at the moon. So this is the principle behind it. Likewise, there are many stories which were from Ramayana, but myth, as I told you, that myth is something which is untrue. So the next definition of myth is an idea or a story which many people believe, but that does not exist or is false, unfounded, or the false notion about any person or a thing having only imaginary or unverifiable existence. That means myth is the thing which never existed earlier. We only believe that it existed. But then, friends, and the synonyms of myth are also very interesting. What are the synonyms of myth? it says delusion or error, or it says it is falsehood, falsity, illusion, misconception, misbelief, or untruth. That means essentially myth means something untrue. Myth is something which is false. But then we must challenge this particular thing in calling Ramayana, Mahabharata, and those things as a myth. We believe that, and many people, rather we Indians believe that they are no longer myths, but they were actually a reality. And that is why things from Ramayana are still verifiable, like Setu, Ram Setu. Even the NASA has now found out that yes, there was something like a bridge which was there, which was a Setu. Or those names which are there from those Ramayana and other epics are still in existence. Moreover, in Mahabharata also, whatever has happened, so many like Sri Krishna's Dwaraka. Now it was when the excavation was done, Dwarka was really found. And there are many other evidences which are being found out that whatever are so-called myths, they are actually not myths. About Ramayana, I must mention to you that Ramayana is an epic where there was no miracle or wonder whatsoever. In fact, Ram says openly, he declares that Atmanam Manujam Manye, I am a human being. Ramam Dasharathatmajam, like I am the son of King Dasharatha, and I am very much a human being. In fact, by definition, Ram had to be a human being because Ravana had a curse that he would not be killed at the hands of any person other than a man and a monkey. That means, like that Lord Brahma had given him this particular Varadan, or we can say as a boon, that you will have no death or you will not be killed by anyone on the earth, except perhaps the exception provided was that from a man, but Ravana was under a belief that how, if the gods also are not able to kill him, how an ordinary man will kill him. And that is why he was very much under that impression of that superiority complex, and then his ego ultimately killed him. So by definition, and you will always observe that in Ramayana, there means Rama never ever performed any wonder or a miracle. चमत्कार कभी भी किया नहीं है राम जी ने, जो श्री कृष्ण ने किया है, बट राम जी ने कभी भी थ्रू आउट हिज लाइफ चमत्कार नहीं किया है. And that is the reason why we never challenge the veracity of Ramayana. Similarly, Mahabharata also, it is so true to our day-to-day life as on today that it could not be a false thing, because those experiences we are still having. And that is why whatever is generally believed as mythology, and today I also loosely call it as mythology. But in reality, we must be very clear, all Indians at least, who should be proud of our culture and our scriptures, will be very clear that we should avoid the use of word mythology. If you know the correct meaning of the word mythology, then you will never say that Ramayana was a myth, or Mahabharata was a myth, or Bhagavad was a myth. So this is the introductory part that I must make clear, that although I am referring to those stories as mythology, in reality, in our belief, it is not. And therefore, still, when we say it is about God and about the brave people, as I read out the definition, men of courage. Today, our profession is badly in need of some courageous things. We chartered accountants and tax consultants are not very known for courageous things. We are rather sort of a frightened lot. In fact, we are afraid of regulators. We are afraid of so many things. We are afraid of the clients also, because we feel that the client will go away if we tell him something unpleasant thing. All those things are reflected in my lectures on ethics. But remember, it says men of courage. Now, I must mention to you that at the same time, means as against this, the meaning of the word mythology, what are the qualities that are required? Because, and I think I must compliment that the name of your committee is very apt. It is a self-awareness series, which is very apt because it is ultimately it requires introspection. Only if we introspect, we can develop. Only if we introspect, we can progress as to where we stand, where we want to go. That thinking is self-awareness, and therefore it's in fitness of things that this particular topic has been chosen for this particular committee. Now, let me mention to you what are the qualities which are not normally required for an accomplished professional. An accomplished professional should normally have leadership, obviously, yes, knowledge, then discipline. On each of this, I can give a very detailed discourse. Time management, then what is called as a yojakata, that means the discretion of using appropriate resources at appropriate manner in an appropriate cause. Communication skills, public relations, clarity about the goal, or we call it as goal setting. Then there is perseverance, that also should be required. Then result orientedness, ultimately from a professional, people expect results. So it is not just an academic exercise we do just because we love taxation, we read taxation. No, ultimately clients require results. Then technology upgradation. This is another thing. In our mythology, this has been very much dealt with emphasis. Then courage. As we know the story of Abhimanyu, who entered the Chakravyuha also. Then we require vision. There should be what is called as a durdushti, far-sightedness. That has to be there. Then there should be a sense of humor. Sense of humor because it reduces the stress. Then there should be sense of proportion, as to we should be able to do justice to each thing as to what is its relevance, what is its importance, what is its materiality. In our profession also, we have the concept of materiality. That means sense of proportion. How much importance we should attach to any particular thing, that is sense of materiality or sense of proportion. And then we should be very much shrewd also. At times we should be shrewd, although we should be honest and straightforward, but at many occasions we should be shrewd also. And Krishna's character, actually, Krishna's character projects this particular quality, whereas Ram's character projects what is innocence, what is absolute integrity, whereas Krishna's character occasionally suggests that you may compromise a little apparently, but so long as your aims are proper, your aims are good, your objectives are good, then you can even compromise a little, because he also resorted to sometimes false things, like we say Narova Kunjarova. He created a dilemma. So I'll come to the stories, but this is the preliminary thing that we should know, and the credibility. The profession's foundation is credibility. So when we say professional development, we have to develop all these qualities, and then basically the most I would say important and the fundamental to all this, and which is quite often ignored by us, or rather neglected by us, and which is hardly ever rather narrated in such a projected and pointed manner, that quality we professionals tend to always neglect is swasthya, that is fitness. Your own fitness in physical terms, in mental terms, and intellectual terms, and emotional terms. This fitness is of extreme importance, friends, and we always sacrifice it. We take pride in sacrificing our fitness. That is the tragedy of our professional life, because we feel that we are independent, we are our own masters, but at the same time, we are the slaves of many clients. And we should always be very, very particular, because sir salamat to pagdi pachas. And now I see that many professionals at the very early age, they get diabetic, they get BP, they get all sorts of diseases which are related to stressful life and which are related to the present lifestyle. if we are intelligent people, if we are buddhiman people, we are intellectual leaders of the society, then this very basic thing, fitness, and there actually Parvati, Shankar Parvati. Parvati was very much in love with Mahadeva Shankar, and she was doing the tapascharya to get him as her husband. Whereas her father Himalaya had decided that she should get married to Lord Vishnu, Bhagavan Vishnu, who was a very rich person. Now, Parvati was always in love with Mahadeva because Mahadeva, that is Shankar, his bravery and his stage was very much impressive. And she said that he had, of course, we have this Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahesh. They are all symbolic. They symbolize something. So Mahadev was her, you can say, her fiance in her mind, and she had selected him to be her husband. So she was doing tapascharya to get him. And once Bhagavan Shankar took the guise of a ordinary batu, they call it as a batu, means as Brahmin. A Brahmin dress, he came when she was doing the tapascharya, and her tapascharya was so severe, and so that the penance, we call it tapascharya, that she did not eat anything for years together. She did not eat even the fruits and not even the leaves. That is why her name is Aparna. Aparna is the name because Parna, that means the leaves also she never ate. Now that affected her health. So this Batu means the Bhagavan Shankar, who had come under the guise of Batu. He tried to dissuade her from this tapascharya. He tried to curse his own self, that is Bhagavan Shankar. He told her that Bhagavan Shankar is actually a very poor guy. He has no discipline. He is not at all an impressive person. He is not at all a respectable person. That was what he tried to dissuade her from doing tapascharya to get her. And in that process, he gives one very important message. And that message, I think we should always remember and keep it in mind. Sharira madhyam khalu dharma sadhanam. Now, what is this? What does this mean? It means Adyam is the first one, the first and foremost. Shariram is our physique, is our body. Shariram Adyam is the first one, first and foremost. Khalu Dharma Sadhanam. What is Dharma Sadhanam? Dharma is not the religion as we understand in English. Dharma means your own way of life, your own duties. Dharma is duty. And therefore, if you have to perform your duties religiously, that is Dharma Sadhanam. Now, for example, there are dharmas of each and every person, not only that dharma of each and every thing also. Even if inanimate things also have their dharma. Like wood has the dharma of floating on the water. The iron or the steel has the dharma of getting sunk in the water. Kshatriya has his own dharma of fighting. Brahmans are their own dharma of studying, sharing knowledge, acquiring knowledge. Vaishyas are their own dharma of doing the trading and creating wealth. And Shudras, remember that Shudras is not an inferior thing. Shudra is not to be misconstrued as Kshudra. Kshudra is a very trivial thing. It is Shudra. Shudra means who are meant to serve all these three categories. Like we have class 1, class 2, class 3, class 4 categories in the government sector. So these are they are called Chaturvarnyas. Now, here he says, if we have to, and that was a set of duties. Sri Krishna tells Arjuna that I have created this system of Chaturvarnya to divide the duties which are related to do the development of the society, and therefore these are the various types of services those are required by the society or people at large. And therefore he says that I have created, and remember friends, Sri Krishna himself performed all the duties of all these Varnas. This is very important. This nobody points out that when he told Gita, he he gave knowledge, he imparted knowledge and wisdom to Arjuna, he acted like a Brahmin. Then he himself fought, he killed Kamsa, he killed many demons, Kamsa, Chanura, Mardanam, all these demons he killed. He killed Shishupala. So, and he was instrumental in killing many other rather bad people like Duryodhana and all. So, in that sense, he was a Kshatriya. Then he also performed as Vaishya because he was a trader in Vraja, in Mathura, where the people, what Kamsa was a tyrant, and he used to rob these who are the milkmen, Gwalas, Yashoda, Nanda's kingdom, they were there. Now they were robbing them of the milk that they produced, and they had to compulsorily sell it at Mathura at very low price. So Krishna actually advised them, and just as we have the export ban, so he suggested to them that you should not sell these milk people, rather milk products, and a makhan, ghee, all those products you should not sell to Mathura, because by eating that, those people are becoming mighty and we are remaining poor. And therefore, so he had that sense of trade, sense of creating wealth. In fact, he was essentially a creator of wealth. That is why this Dwarka was there. This symbolism actually we should always know about and accordingly act and understand it. And he also acted in the Shudra Varna in the sense that he maintained the horses for Arjuna. He acted as a driver, a Sarathi. So it was in a sense that he acted as a Shudra. So remember, friends, by their own conduct, Rama and Krishna actually gave us messages which are to be followed by the professionals. In fact, people are mistaken when they say, what do we learn by Ramayana? People say that Ram's qualities were truthfulness, Ram's qualities were obedience, Ram's qualities were a very balanced approach. Well, friends, the real qualities of Ram, and those also come from the stories, and that is narrated in one very important Subhashita and Shlok that should be a guiding factor to all of us in our lives. This Subhashita is very interesting. He says that what do we learn from Ramayana? He says, Vijetavya Lanka. Lanka was a very mighty kingdom. Vijetavya means it was to be conquered. Charana Taraniyo Jalanidhi. Jalanidhi means ocean. जल का जो निधि या साठा होता है उसको बोलते हैं जल निधि. So जलाशय, but biggest जलाशय is the ocean. So Charana Taraniyo means it was to be crossed on foot or by foot. It was not to be crossed by air. So Charana Taraniyo Jalanidhi, that is the human aspect of Rama. That he did not fly, unlike Hanuman. So Charana Taraniyo Jalanidhi. Vipaksha Paulastyo. Vipaksha means the enemy. Vipaksha. हम रहते हैं ना विपक्षी दल, यानी कि opposition leaders. So Vipakshi dal means Vipaksha is enemy. Paulastyo is Ravan. Pulastya, Rishi's son, is Paulastyo. So Vipaksha Paulastyo. Ranabhuvi Sahaya Kapaya. Ranabhuvi means in the war zone or in that war front. Who was there to help Rama? Sahaya Kapaya. Kapaya means monkeys. That means Rama was fighting a very, you can say, one-sided sort of war where Lanka was to be conquered. He had to cross the whole ocean on foot. His enemy was a very mighty person like Ravana, who had defeated all gods, including Indra. And to help him, who were there? Ranabhuvi Sahaya Kapayaha. That means monkeys were there. But then they say, Tathapyeko Ramaha. The word Ram alone, what did he do? Sakalam avadhit Rakshasa Kulam. The entire demon kingdom, he destroyed. He did not destroy the kingdom as such, but he killed all the cruel and wicked demons. And So, Sakalam Avadhit Rakshasakulam, and the final moral is very, very important, friends. And that is the true guiding factor. That should be the guiding factor for us professionals. It says the final moral is Kriya Siddhi Satve. Kriya Siddhi means success in life. Kriya Siddhi, success of your action. Kriya Siddhi, where does it lie? Sattva. In your Sattva Gun means in your valor, in your Parakram. Of Vasati Mahatam. Mahatam means great people. Like Lokmanya Tilak, Gandhiji, Shivaji Maharaj. Now these are Savarkar or Netaji Bose. These are great people. They are heroes. And their success lies in what? Their Sattva Gun, that is their valor. Similarly, for a professional, you cannot just keep on complaining that I don't have resources, I don't have manpower. Sattve Vasati Mahata na upakarane. No upakarane means resources, equipments. Those are immaterial. So this is a very, very rather enlightening shloka. Vijetavya Lanka Charana Taraniyo Jalanidhi Vipaksha Paulastyo Ranabhuvi Sahaya Kapayah Tathapyeko Rama Sakalam Avadhit Rakshasakulam Kriya Siddhis Sattve Vasati Mahatam Nopakarane. That means we should not keep on giving excuses. And Ram's entire, you can say, charitra or his biography actually is this. He was alone, assisted by his brother Lakshmana. Otherwise, there was no one to help him. And despite all these odds, despite all these unfavorable things, he was successful. And that is the message for professionals. So we should not be excuse masters. That why we did not succeed because we did not have the proper manpower, we did not have this and that. So remember, friends, that Ram had a very clear goal. Now on Arjuna, about the clarity of goal, clarity of objects also, there is a well-known story of Arjuna. You know, Guru Dronacharya was the guru or mentor of Kauravas and Pandavas both. I am taking some certain things for granted that all of you know Ramayana and Mahabharata, that is basics. Now, once this Dronacharya, his students were, or his pupils were these Kauravas, young Kauravas and young Pandavas. So once he arranged for their test or examination. And what was the examination? What was the target given? The target given was that there was a fish which was hanging and it was just revolving. And there was it was put in a pond or a small lake. There was a reflection in the water. And the things were revolving or rotating, that fish. And every student had to, by his bows, that means Vidya, Dhanur Vidya, by his bow and arrow, he had to rather hit the eye of the fish. We say, no, hit the bull's eye. So here they had to hit the eye of the fish. Now every student came, all 100 Kauravas and other Pandavas came. Dronacharya said, before trying, you answer only one question, that in the water you are looking at that or seeing this reflection. Tell me what you see. And everybody described so many things that they could see. They told that I'm looking at this water, I'm seeing this pond, I'm looking at the crows and sparrows flying around. I see all my cousins and my brothers standing around. I see Guru Dronacharya, all that everybody narrated. Everybody, the Dronacharya said, no, then your turn is gone. You try later. Everybody, so 104 students answered, like gave these vague answers. Finally, Arjuna came, and Dronacharya asked, what do you see? And Arjuna said, I see nothing but the eye of the fish. I don't see even the fish. I see only the eye of the fish. That should be the clarity of our goal. That should be the clarity of our objective. So by this story, because all management training starts with the goal setting. And unless you are very clear as to see in your profession, what goal you are setting. Whether you want to develop horizontally, whether you want to develop vertically, what are you going to achieve? Do you want to achieve goodwill? Do you want to achieve money? Are you able to, do you have to achieve satisfaction, work satisfaction? Do you want to achieve work-life balance, the self-development? What exactly is your objective? Unless you are very clear about your objectives, doing profession is nothing but wasting one's life. So I must attach, see, for example, you are developing some expertise in a particular field. But why do I need expertise in that field? By that, what? It is only a means. It is not a goal in itself. Like expertise in GST, expertise in audit is not the goal in itself. What exactly you intend to achieve, and that is rather highlighted by this story that yes, my goal is this much. My goal is to achieve the reputation which is impeccable. If this is the thing, then our profession, we can flourish in the profession. Otherwise, we are just doing slogging, earning money, running around people, rather drafting things, arguing, winning the cases. But ultimately, what are we trying to achieve? And that is the lesson from this Arjuna story of Dhanurvidya. Now the concentration and the focus, and it is a very beautiful story of Bhagavan Vishnu and Narad Muni. You know, Narad Muni was, as much as he breathed, you like breathing the Bhagavan's name, like Narayana, 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 throughout his life. He was breathing it, in fact. Now, then he had some kind of a notion of an ego that I am one of the greatest devotees of Bhagavan Vishnu, because continuously, incessantly, I keep on chanting his name, Narayana, Narayana. So once he tried to meet Bhagavan Vishnu, and he asked him, Bhagavan, I wanted to ask a small question. I had a query or a doubt. So Bhagavan Vishnu realized what he wanted to say, because Bhagavan Vishnu is a Sarvajna, omniscient, omnipotent, omniscient, and omnipresent. So he asked, what exactly you want to know? And Narada asked, who is your greatest devotee? Who is your devotee whom you like most? And Narada was expecting that Bhagavan Vishnu would say, obviously, Narada, because you have been chanting my name so much and so constantly that Narada felt that he was his greatest devotee. But then Bhagavan Vishnu smiled and he said, see, you go to the earth, there he gave the address, the location and all he gave. And he said that this is one farmer is there. And he is my greatest devotee. Narad was shocked. He said, this is mockery. This is something like injustice to me. Vishnu said, no, you go and see. He went there. Narad went there and tried to watch what this farmer does. The farmer woke up early in the morning and he just uttered Bhagavan's name once, as he said Narayana or Mahadev, Om Namah Shivaya, or whatever. Then he went to his farm, to his field. He slogged there, and when he sat for eating his tiffin under the tree, again he bowed to he offered pranam to the god, and again uttered name of the god. And again at night, while sleeping, while going to sleep, he chanted the name of God. But only 3 times a day he was doing it. And Narad observed that he was doing it every day same way. He was wild. He was very angry. He said, this is very unfair on the part of Vishnu that he is not treating him as, although he was chanting his name continuously. So he went to Bhagavan Vishnu and he said, what is this? I don't agree. Vishnu also again smiled. He said, yeah, I will give you the explanation. But before that, I am giving you one task. Gave him the one small, a pot. And in that pot, he had put some oil or say milk, whatever, some liquid was put. But it was full to the brim, means it was totally full up to the highest level. But one condition is there. Not a single drop of this oil it should be so he had 3 rounds, 3 pradakshinas to the Vaikuntha, and he came triumphantly. He was very happy. He said, see, not a single drop had fallen. Then he said, yes, I have done this. Now you give me that explanation. Vishnu said, yeah, you did it. So you did it with very much concentration. Now tell me, how many times you uttered my name? How many times you chanted my name at that time? Narad was puzzled. But then he tried to argue, no, but this task was given by you only. So I was doing the task which is given by you. So that then he meant that then there was no need to chant his name. And then Bhagavan Vishnu said that farmer, his task is also given by me only. In short, whatever profession we are in, instead of complaining about the profession, instead of being unhappy about the profession, because if we have courage, then leave the profession and take up something else. But so long as you are in the profession, don't blame it, don't curse it. Accept that, yes, this is the task given to us by God. See, now many people are chartered accountants and tax consultants are there who are in practice for so many years because of this over-regulation, because of the corrupt practices, because of the so many realities regulators approach. People are fed up. If you are fed up, then have the courage to leave the profession, or rather adopt that kind of a profession where you are not affected by this. But so long as you are there into it, you treat it that this is the God-given duty to you. And once you say, then you will do justice to the profession. If you are doing half-hearted thing, then you are not doing justice to the profession. That is the message from this. So Narada Taila Patra Katha is there. So this is how our story is. Now I come to Sri Krishna and Hanuman. Both had acted, friends, as the mediators. Both had acted as the ambassadors of their masters, perhaps. Masters in the sense, Hanuman was perceiving Rama as his master or his God. And he went to Ravana as the ambassador of Rama. And then he tried to, when Ravana insulted him and Ravana did damage, tried to cause damage to him, then only he resorted to the destruction. What should be your rather ideal qualities of a servant? Those are mentioned in Mahabharata as well as Ramayana. If your servant or your employee does a thing which you have entrusted to him and also does something extra, which he honestly feels that is in your interest, that is in master's interest. So Ram sent Hanuman only to find out Sita. Hanuman did that job. But later on, he felt that if Ravana is the enemy of Rama, then he should do something which will, firstly, we should get information, the intelligence. So Lanka was the kingdom of Ravana. So we should get the information or intelligence from him. Then we should also try to do something which will demoralize Ravana, which will give him an impression of the bravery and valor and the greatness of Rama, so that he will be demoralized. He should create some inferiority complex in Ravana, that an ordinary rather say Dut or a servant of Rama is so powerful that he destroys your so many things and you can't do anything to him. Then his master Rama, how great he must have been. So this is the best type of a servant, or you can say the sevak. Second category is whatever is entrusted to him, he does it faithfully. That is second category. And the third category is Nimna Sevak. Nimna is, that means whatever you allot to him, that also he doesn't do, and he will have a disrespect to the master. And he will have disrespect and carelessness about the task. Now, everywhere in your recruitment policy, this should be reflected. ABC category, where you have to, means right man at the right place. That also should be there. Now, these are totally, told by, now, for example, about Rama, I would say, that everybody knows about the Bharat Bhet. Means what was Bharat Bhet? Means the meeting of Bharata and Rama in the exile, where Bharat went to fetch him. Because Bharat was upset that Ram had to go to the exile, Vanavas, जो किया था के कारण. So because of the constraints of time, I will not be able to tell it in a very detailed manner. But in Ramayana, Valmiki Ramayana, there is a separate chapter called Kachit Sarga. Kachit in the sense, the questions are asked by the word whether you do this, whether you have done that. And when Bharat went to fetch Ram back to Ayodhya, Ram did not even inquire about the well-being of the family, because Ram was a king and he was so duty conscious that he directly bombarded questions of governance to Bharata. In fact, on that itself, we can discuss about 2 to 3 hours as to what were the questions, because we always say it is Rama Rajya, but we nobody has ever told us that what does it mean that Rama Rajya means what? What was the administration style of Rama? What was the governance style of Rama? That nobody has told us. So these are the questions which are put for the administration and the governance, and that exactly are required for our own professional office. Ram asks him, how dare you come to this place when our father, old father, remember that he did not even know, he did not even allow Bharat to tell that Dasharath had expired, their father had expired. He said, how dare you come here? Because he is old and you have recently taken up charge of the kingdom, Ayodhya. So now your Ayodhya has become vulnerable. And if it has become vulnerable, the enemies can take this chance. So you should not have come here at all. So that is how he starts. And then he says, what are your administrative measures that you have taken? Is there any corruption in your kingdom? How is the judicial system? Whether the justice is dispensed in a proper manner? What is your intelligence system? He says that intelligence system means you should have so many spies, you can say, the spies against a particular designations or your particular officers of your kingdom, so that, and they should report to you, 3 of them should report to you independently and again jointly. And this kind of arrangement of 3 spies against every person in the governance, that you should have, and also against the persons of the enemy's kingdom. This you should have. Your intelligence system should be very strong. That is what he says. What is your recruitment policy? He says that how do you keep the secrets? Rama in fact asks whether you have cost-benefit analysis, whether your projects are completed in time, whether there is a cost escalation. Now these are all the things which a professional should know. When I see profession, although the focus is the profession of tax consultancy or chartered accountancy, ultimately each and every professional should have this kind of awareness that it should be your cost benefit ratio, the sense of proportion, and whether you are result oriented, whether your projects are always completed in time. That is also he asks. Then he asks very, very interesting and pertinent questions which is applicable even in modern times. Ram asks Bharat whether there is ease of doing business in your kingdom. And for that he says, all these people who are engaged in the Krishi is the farming, the Udyoga, that means industry, whether all their difficulties are removed or eliminated quickly, because they are the persons who create wealth. So then in a profession also, if you have to create wealth, you have to create wealth for ourselves, and you have to create wealth for the client, and you have to create wealth for the nation. If this vision is not there, so Ram asks is Krishi Vyapar and traders, Krishi Vyapar and Udyog करने वाले लोगों के बारे में आपकी क्या नीति है? Whether their difficulties are solved promptly, whether you create a conducive atmosphere for the growth of the wealth. Now this awareness Ram had. And he says, how do you take care of your treasure, the king's treasure? Whether there is always a growth in that. Then he says, do you ever punish the innocent people? And he says, if innocent people are punished, then their tears can destroy your entire family. This was the direction of Rama. And remember, friends, that the same thing was done by the great hero of all times is Shivaji Maharaj. He was totally, he had no resources whatsoever. He had no trained soldiers. He had no money. He had nothing. His only willpower and his valor and his kriyas, this satve, that shloka I told you, that you should not be crying about the resources. You have to create the resources. You have to train the resources. You have to generate the resources. Only then you can perform. These are the lessons we should take from these. Now, Shivaji, you cannot say it is a mythology. It was a reality. But even we believe, as in the initial part I told you, that Rama and Krishna were also is a reality and not a myth. Now, here at this juncture, I must mention that multitasking is one of the qualities. Multitasking is one of the qualities of our profession. And in that, I would spend about 5 minutes to describe one of the greatest multitaskers that India or the world has ever witnessed. And if I tell you this particular thing, you will also agree that there was hardly anyone which is known to us, whose charitra is known to us in the world, perhaps in last few centuries, as a great versatile person or multitasker as Lokmanya Tilak. In fact, many of us even don't know about his greatness. And I'll tell you how he was distinguished. And he was a true professional. He was a lawyer also. Remember, friends, the distinguishing features, which are very, very unique, and you should emulate them, because ultimately you should be a multitasker. You should be a versatile person. You are not, for example, if you are a tax consultant, then you cannot be obsessed only with the taxation. If you are an auditor, you cannot be obsessed only with the audit function. You have to have the quality of multitasking. Now, I'll narrate to you very briefly about Lokmanya Tilak. Is that, see, all the Mahapurushas of all those times, the great persons, they were normally, they had studied law, they had studied literature, they had studied language, they had studied political science, they had studied economics. The greatness and the uniqueness about Lokmanya Tilak was he was a mathematician, essentially a mathematician. Somebody asked him that after we get the independence, what kind of portfolio in the ministry you will have? Lokmanya Tilak said, you are fools. I don't want any ministry in the government. I am not doing this for becoming a minister, but you people are not failing in your duty for getting the independence for our country. That is why I had to leave my mathematics and come here. Otherwise, I will become a professor in mathematics. He was an astronomer. Means he had the great knowledge of astronomy, and he wrote books on astronomy, like Orion or Arctic Home of Vedas. So he wrote it. Then for 20 years, he was fighting in the courts. There were 6 court cases against him or by him. Then he was a great journalist. He started the newspapers like Kesari and Maratha, one in Marathi, one in English. Then he founded school and college. Then he was a lawyer. He had studied law, and for his livelihood, he was giving tuitions in law. And in that process, because people from distant places also came to him for learning law, because in those times there were not this facilities like, classes and colleges and so many things. So he taught them law, and in that time, he could sow the seeds of patriotism and nationalism in them. So that is about the law. Then one of the greatest thing, and he was a big philosopher, that everybody knows. And for that, you are not aware you may not be aware what he did. He was in this jail for 6 years, what we call as Kalapani in Andaman. Not in Andaman, he was in Mandale. And there was a very hard life. It was a torturous life. And he was already 52 plus. Remember, friends, and that time the longevity was not very high, because he also died at the age of 64. And despite that, for 6 years, he studied so much of literature about Gita, Upanishads, philosophy and all. And he wrote Gita Rahasya, which is acclaimed as one of the greatest commentaries on Gita. And that he wrote when he was in jail. And you may not be aware, and you will be amazed to learn that for that he studied 4 other languages like German, Spanish, French, and Bengali or some such thing. So at that age, in the jail, he can do this. Many times, I used to be amused that when we used to attend these tax departments, sometimes these commissioners and income tax officers, they used to make us wait for hours together, and we were getting frustrated. But then I have seen a few professionals, they are sitting quietly there, they are not losing their temper, and they are reading something which is constructive and productive. This is multitasking, that you make the good use of the opportunity, whatever you see as problem. So Lokmanya Tilak saw this problem and converted it into an opportunity, because otherwise in day-to-day hectic life, he would not have got time to do this. And now I will share with you, because this I must share with the tax professionals and the people who are related to commerce, that hardly anybody would be aware that he had a great sense of commerce and economics. Not only that, he was himself an entrepreneur. He had a foundry and he had a workshop at Ratnagiri and Latur. He himself ran it, means he was the entrepreneur. And not only that, one step beyond, and which is very unique and amazing, the first joint stock company in India was Lokmanya Tilak was the one of the promoters of that. Hardly anyone knows this fact. And that company was Swadeshi Cooperative Stores. It was a listed company. So the first ever listed joint stock company of India was promoted along with others by Lokmanya Tilak. Now this, you can just imagine the range of his activities. And he film industry he promoted, in the sense that Dada Saheb Phalke, who produced the first film, Lokmanya Tilak wrote an editorial on this, and he was humble enough to say that our speeches that we write, we give, or our lectures that we deliver, or rather our articles that we write, they will have a short life. But the film as a medium, now see his vision. So we in profession also need to have that kind of a vision. And he also helped an entrepreneur at Chakan near Pune. There's a glass factory. So he generated and created fund base for that factory. And when he went to England, he was constantly watching the rate of exchange between pounds and rupee. That kind of a vision he had. And look at the versatility that he had. So remember, this is multitasking and professional development. And when I say that, if I tell this thing to, because Lokmanya Tilak's biography is verifiable, so it is not a myth. But then Rama and Krishna performed such things, it was people, we call it as a myth. It is not a myth, because they did it in their own lives. And similarly, Gandhiji, or they did not have any resources. How he could become, Gandhiji was not a very rich person, so that his followers will be there automatically. But he created that kind of a motivation among small people, and that is the leadership. So when I say leadership quality, this is the one. Then in Ramayana, when Rama went for exile, when Kaikeyi asked for those 2 Varadan from Dasharath, one of the thing was Ram should go to exile for 14 years, and Bharat should be made the king of Ayodhya. Now, friends, this particular thing, which the Varadan which was given, when he was going to exile, Ram had great sense of reality, practical life. People have blamed him that he was a too idealistic person. It was not practicable to follow his principles now. Actually, that time the people did not follow his principles. That is why Krishna means that incarnation was in separate, because that was the demand of the time when Kali Yuga was about to start. But in Ram's times, whatever was necessary that he did. And friends, very interestingly, when he went to exile, his personal palace was there, his own staff was there, and he paid the 14 years salary in advance to all of them, all these staff. And he requested them not to leave the job. Remember, this is the way you should also treat your employees. That not to leave the job, but keep on serving his old parents, and after 14 years he will come. That shows his confidence. because he was to go to, and that time he was going to this exile, means this Vanavas. That was not a holiday resort. That was not a picnic, but it was a very strenuous, hard, and very risky life in Vanavas. In fact, there is a very interesting thing. When Bharat learned about Ram was sent to exile to Vanavas, one of the questions he asked about 39 questions. Just as I told you that Ram asked about 65 to 70 questions to Bharata about administration. Similarly, Bharata asks about 40 questions as to what is the sin committed by Rama so that he had to go to exile, because going to exile was not an ordinary thing. And one of the questions he asked, that did Ram do something by collecting the tax but not doing something good for the subjects, for the people. So that was considered as a sin. And these are the messages that we should be alert that people should pay proper tax. In fact, about Sri Krishna, I would say that because we are advisors, and when I say about Lokmanya Tilak, as I told you, that these were the multitasking. Now there is one more thing that about the stories as such, because I must go to the Arjuna. He was a dilemma. Arjuna's dilemma was that whether he should kill his own relatives, own near and dear ones, or whether he should sacrifice the king. Dilemma. There is no, your moha is not temptation. People sometimes mistake it as temptation. Lobha is temptation, greed. Just as we have mohan means we hypnotize or mesmerize. What happens there? That time he is not able to decide anything. So Arjuna had moha. He did not have that temptation, but he had the moha. And that many times our clients have that moha. Many times clients do not understand how to go about, how to tackle a particular thing. Sometimes they consult us even in their professional lives, what in your personal lives also, as to how do they tackle a particular aspect. Now, particularly in the family-run businesses, there are many such issues that arise. That time, we should be able to give them an impartial and objective advice in their interest. And this is actually taught by Krishna. I'll deal with it a little later. But there was a good, interesting story as to how they were committed. And that sense of commitment is for great learning for us. When the Mahabharata war was about to start, suddenly, when they were sitting in their pavilion, you should say, that suddenly an arrow came from the Kaurava's side and it brushed the ear of Yudhishthira. Yudhishthira means Dharmaraj, the eldest brother of Pandavas. Everybody was stunned. Everybody was shocked as to how could this happen. So what Yudhishthira said, Yudhishthira asked Arjuna, "Are this arrow has come and brushed my ear and you are sitting quiet?" What Arjuna's bow was called as Gandiva bow or Dhanusha. What is this Dhanusha for? It is useless. How can you sit quiet? Arjuna stood up and he was wild. He was very furious and he said, "I will kill Yudhishthira." People were amazed. His eldest brother Yudhishthira is trying to say that, Arjuna, how can you keep quiet? And still he says he will kill Yudhishthira. So people asked him, "Why are you saying so?" He said, this bow is so dear to me and I respect it so much that if anybody blames that bow, it is my vow, it is my pledge that I will kill him. मेरी प्रतिज्ञा है कि मैं उसको kill करूंगा. People were very much afraid what will happen. But Krishna, now this is the tact as a lawyer, as a professional, problem-solving approach. So he said, Arjuna, it is very simple. You try to blame and curse your elder brother because you treat him as guru, you respect him. Now, doing offense or insult to your guru or mentor or elderly person itself is his hatya, or it is as good as killing him. See how intelligently Krishna handled it. Then suddenly Arjuna, and he said, now I will kill myself. Again people were shocked. Arey, usko kya, has he become mad? That once he says, I will kill Yudhishthira, and now he says, I will kill myself. Why do you say that you will kill yourself? He said, see, I love my elder brother so much, and I have so much respect of him that he is also my pratigya, it is also my pledge that whosoever insults him, I will kill him. See how this very complicated questions they have created and how they have tackled it. So Sri Krishna again came to the rescue and he said, Arjuna, very simple. You try yourself, appreciation. There was in the court of law, there was one very heated argument going on a particular matter. And the opponent was a very senior and a very seasoned whereas the one who was arguing was a very young lawyer. For granted that young lawyer would get impressed. And they said, yes, he has turned the table now. That was the belief of people over there in the court of law. But unfortunately, the result went, the order or decision went in favor of that senior lawyer. Everybody was shocked. He said, no, this is injustice. But the young lawyer, he was so wild and he was so shocked that he said that I am shocked by this. Now, saying this, that I am shocked by this, is treated as an offense to the court, because that is as good as you are questioning the wisdom of the judges, and therefore it is treated as an offense. So it was the court also was very angry, but then there was a very seasoned and senior lawyer sitting in the court, and he handled it so tactfully. He said, sir, that this particular young man is not very much seasoned in this court matters. He's very young. So please forgive him, because once he becomes seasoned here, then had he been seasoned here, he would not have been even half as much shocked as he got today. Now that was a great humor, because people enjoyed that humor. That means it's a part of life. Getting decisions which are against your wishes, and although that you have done so, Bhagavad Gita said, Karmanyeva adhikaraste, ma phaleshu kadachana. Again, everybody's mood and perception, because I'm now jumping to next 2 or 3 stories only I'll tell. There was once a big dispute between Sri Shani, you know, Shani Devi is Saturn, and Sri Lakshmi. Lakshmi is the goddess of wealth. And Lakshmi, the goddess of wealth, is of course very beautiful. And Shani, the Saturn, as a planet, is also looks very beautiful if you see in the sky. Now they were disputing as to who between them is better looking, who is more beautiful, whether Shani is beautiful or Lakshmi is beautiful. That was the dispute going on. Narad Muni was passing by. So they called him, and then Narad anticipated that he would be now inviting trouble, or he would be invited for some trouble. Who is really who looks better or who is more beautiful, Lakshmi or Shani? That he asked they asked Narad. Narad was in a great dilemma and a difficulty, because he said that every day he used to go to Vishnu's house, Lakshmi's house, for saying Narayana, Narayana, and if he displeases, so then it will be very difficult for him to again continue going to his house, Vishnu's house. And at the same time, Shani se panga kaun lega? So isliye he was afraid of Shani Dev. So then he thought of a trick, and that is what is essential for our professionals. What was the trick he did? He asked them, both of them, to walk up to a particular, there was a distant tree over there. He said, you please go there and come back walking. So they went there. They were very angry, yes, and they were very upset. Arey, we are asking you as to who is more beautiful, and you are asking us to go to that place and come back. Now he came back, and Narad also was again trying to rather test their patience, try their patience. So he said, Arey, I did not understand. Again go there and please come back. They were again angry, but then they were helpless. Finally, decision, he said, while going away from here, Shani looks better. And while coming Lakshmi looks better. See how intelligently he tackled the particular situation, because that exactly depends on our mood. How we perceive a particular thing depends on our mood. And therefore, friends, you should always be trying to, and that is the first thing, as I mentioned to you, that our physical and mental fitness to be there. That is the sense of humor that you should develop. Now, I will tell you a very great story of one of the great, very well-known surgeons who is still living, one Dr. Srikhande from Dadar. He is considered as the wizard in his surgery, and he performed the surgery of our President of India, and he was very well known. He has written a book called My Two Hands, that means Ani Don Hath, it is in Marathi. He did his FRCS in England, and he was studying there earlier, and then he practiced for more than 10 years over there. Now, there was a patient who had met with an accident, and there was multiple injury, and that person was as good as dead. But Dr. Srikhande treated him, operated upon him, and after a few months, that person had become absolutely all right, a perfect one. And therefore, the whole family of that patient was treating doctor as if their God. And it is really so. Now, once the doctor had to take the driving license, and he went there to give the driving test. But when he sat for driving, and there by coincidence was that brother of that patient, who was also respecting doctor like anything, because his brother was saved by that doctor. But remember, friends, a very, very important message we can get from this story is that that RTO, that officer, he failed this doctor on the ground that doctor did not adjust the mirror before starting the car. Remember that that particular officer was not doing any favor or any partial thing to the doctor. I mean, he was very impartial because he was conscientious, and he was honest to his duty. That exactly your audit or consultancy or whatever is, you should be without fear or favor. So the person who was mentor, and in India, the situation is exactly the opposite. That means they would say that even you don't come to give the test, and we will bring the license to you directly here. So friends, these are so many other stories are there, but ultimately as a consultant or as a tax consultant or other any, because this is the Chamber of Tax Consultants, that is why I'm mentioning it. But in Vidura Niti also, there are many messages. In Vidura Niti, who was Vidur? Vidur was the youngest brother of Dhritarashtra and Pandu. Pandu was the father of Pandavas, and Dhritarashtra, as you know, was the father of Kauravas. And Vidur was the youngest one, and he was like a sannyasi. And he was considered as one of the most wisest person in that era. Means he was considered as the incarnate of Lord Yama, who is the God of justice, Lord of justice. And Krishna was very much fond of Vidura. And Vidura has given the Niti, or that is called Vidura Niti. It contains 600 shlokas. And he tells Dhritarashtra that the Sulabha Purusha Partha, Sulabha Purusha Rajan means the king. Dhritarashtra was the king. So you are addressing him as a king. Satatam Priyavadinaha, that means who are always talking very sweet. But Apriyasya cha pathyasya. Pathya means what is beneficial to you. That is pathya. You know pathya, apathya, kupathya. So pathyakara means who is beneficial to you. So apriyasya cha, but which is unpleasant. We are giving you advice, but which is unpleasant to you. For example, we give advice to a client to pay tax. We give advice to him to do certain things or to comply with certain things. Now, basically, the client gets upset that he says, "Arey, I have come to you for saving my tax or getting me refund, and you are asking me to pay the tax." But he's paying the tax, he's in his own interest. So, apriyasya, this is unpleasant. Paying tax is always unpleasant for the people. But patyasya, that means he should comply so that he doesn't attract penalty, and he should also bring out the positive aspects of paying tax. Like if you pay tax and file proper returns and declare correct income, probably your chances, firstly, you will have peace of mind. Secondly, your chances of getting loans and other resources are better. So if he is a businessman, you should have the courage and clarity to advise him that it is in his own interest, the client's interest, that he pays the tax properly. So apriyasya patyasya vakta shrota cha durlabha. That means the person who tells good things but unpleasant things, and the person who hears or listens to unpleasant things but which are in his interest. Both these things are durlabha. That means they are not easily available. And then Vidura also, now this is the last one I am telling, then I will conclude. He also says that there should be 6 methods of dealing with any person, and we should always have those strategies in mind. One is sandhim cha vigraham chaiva. Sandhim means samjhauta, we say, understanding. We should have like for example, India and Russia have an understanding. So sandhim cha, I am dealing it rather hurriedly. Vigraham is the quarrel, dispute. Like Bharat and Pakistan, India and Pakistan, there is a dispute. Chaiva, yanam asanam evacha. Yanam means direct attack, akraman. Yanam, asanam evacha. Asanam means sitting quiet. Sitting quiet. That means you are sitting on the fence. Then Dvaidhi bhavam means very interesting thing. Dvaidhi bhavam means you create a dilemma. Nobody knows as to which side you are. Or Dvaidhi bhav also means that you create a division in your enemy's, you can say, army or whatever. Among your enemies, you create a division, you create a dispute there. That is called Dvaidhi bhavam. These are and samshrayam. Samshrayam means taking shelter of a mighty friend. That means suppose like Pakistan is taking shelter or help from China because they have no means or they have no ability to fight with India. So these are the 6 steps, and this you find in all political parties also. Political parties are making alliance with other parties. Like if you want to grow in the firm as a practice, you should also have the strategies of having these kind of relations with other firms. Like there will be some good firms which are like-minded firms. So you can join together. You can have a combination and you can grow because all are like-minded people. But if some firms are not you are not comfortable dealing with them, then probably you should keep away from them. Similarly, in all like your recruitment of staff, your promotion policy, how do you deal with the clients? If the clients you are not comfortable with, then you should have the courage to leave them, to give them up. Because otherwise, what will happen is they will not behave properly, and in that process, you will also come in trouble. So there are so many such stories. There are constraints of time. I am also sorry that because of this electricity problem, which was very unforeseen, that there was an interruption. But finally, I would say that you are consultants. Consultant should have a very balanced approach. He should not be possessive about what he is advising. So that possessiveness, that means many people I have seen that they give advice and they are very much insisting on it. So if they are insisting on a particular advice, then they make it as a prestige issue. But remember, one of the greatest advisors in the mythology or whatever you say or whatever in the history was Bhagavan Shri Krishna. He was advising Arjuna, that Arjuna was in a dilemma as to what to do. And Krishna told him about 700 slokas in Bhagavad Gita, and he said that what is the correct course of action one should follow. Now, Krishna was himself a god, that we believe that he was a god, he was a Bhagwan. Arjuna was also one of the most intelligent students. Despite this, and Krishna was confident that whatever he was advising was correct, but he never sat on the head of Arjuna. He never said that you should take this decision only. He only suggested to him that this is the thing. Similarly, when your client approaches for advice, that maybe taxation, maybe audit, whatever, you should give them an impartial advice, proper, what are the pros and cons. But then Krishna says finally, which is very interesting, have you heard whatever I have told you? Have you understood it? Finally, he says, Yathechasi tatha kuru. Yathechasi tatha kuru means then whatever so you use your discretion. The decision is yours. See, the client will try to tell us, you take the decision, you tell us what to do. Then you have to say, no, decision is yours. Because I am putting before you whatever is the good, whatever is bad. What are the pros and cons? Because you have not created the law. You have not framed the law yourself. So then you should not give the unnecessarily ownership. I own up my advice, but then you say that, yes, these are the pros and cons. With this, perhaps you may say that, yes, I feel that this is better, but it is not my final advice. It is my opinion that this is better. If you have that kind of an approach, then you can become a good consultant. But otherwise, what will the clients will blame you only? You had only advised us to do this. You had only suggested that we should do this. So you say that, no, decision is yours. I am just putting before you process, but at the same time, you should not confuse the client. Many consultants I have seen that they have so much of knowledge that they confuse the client. So that is also not good. So what is good, what is bad, what is in his interest, what is in his long-term interest, that is also important. See, one is short-term interest, one is short-sightedness, one is far-sightedness. What is in his long-term interest, that you should advise. I think I've tried to do justice to this. There are many stories which I might have missed out because of the constraints of time. I once again apologize for that interruption that has come, but I thank Premal Bhai and also Ashita Behan for this wonderful opportunity to speak on this topic. Time permitting, I would also perhaps Ramayana and Mahabharata separate things. We'll try to deal with it if at all you have liked this particular thing. I once again thank.
Way of Ram or way of Krishna while dealing with clients?
Yes. See, very good question. Actually, Ram and Krishna were not two mutually exclusive persons. They were acting as if, means whatever the practical, these are situational things. Ram's incarnation and Krishna's incarnation, they were situational things in the sense that when Ram was there, it was a Satya Yuga. So Satya Yuga means by and large people were behaving properly. When Krishna's incarnation was there, it was a beginning of Kali Yuga. Means Kali Yuga was about to start. In that sense, whatever was proper Krishna advice. So you also, as I mentioned to you, that you should not be too idealistic in advising. You should not be too that this is the most adarsha situation hai. That I am not telling that you should become such a person who is not practical. There should be practical, but the practical there should be a proper balance. That whatever is practical, now people say that they can perform anything to get the result from the tax department. Now that is not correct. So you should have a proper balance as to what is required in the today's time and where you can take you can do the adventure, where you can take the risk. That calculated risk also you should point out. But yes, I agree that there may be a practical difficulties, and when they have practical difficulties, your duty is to inform the client properly that these are the pros and cons, and let us take a conscious decision with calculated risk. So you should not have a very idealistic approach like Rama, and you should not go to the other extreme also that do whatever you like. You say that yeah, these are the things. Because why, friends? Because that is a very larger topic. We, friends, as chartered accountants and professionals, we are not firm and we are not assertive and we are not united. That is why we are not able to decide what should be proper. But if you get united, like your Chamber of Consultants or Chartered Accountant Society, if you are united and collectively, if we do something, perhaps government will have to listen. Because today there are irrational laws. Today there is an irrational method of implementation. But we are today afraid if there is corrupt practice, We are afraid of pointing it out. We say that ultimately we will suffer. But if you are united, then you can do it. So the message from Rama and Sita is united, because monkeys were united while fighting against the demons. This is the message. So if I can elaborate it further, but ultimately if you the message is that you should get united so that we can change the situation. I understand that today there are practical difficulties because of the corrupt practices, because of the bureaucratic approach, because of the politics. So many bad things are there. But we as intellectuals, what are we doing about it jointly and collectively is what we need to introspect. And that exactly is your committee. Self-awareness series or whatever. So if you introspect and if we come together, we can do wonders and we can change the situation. That is the message.